Did somebody tip you off? Like, this is like a hot button item for me. The challenge I have with the hustle culture that you have to outwork and work longer than your competitors is that
Yeah.
I refuse to believe otherwise.
What do you think of the hustle culture? Because I feel like this has been permeating a lot of the business world. I mean, especially for entrepreneurs, work nonstop, forget about enjoying life, just hustle nonstop. What's your thought on that?
Like, did somebody tip you off? Like, this is like a hot button item for me. One of my fundamental beliefs is that to be a successful husband and a father and a successful business person, that those are not mutually exclusive endeavors.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe otherwise. And the challenge I have with the hustle culture that you have to outwork and work longer than your competitors is that they're just ignoring the fact that, like, I get to work every day with a self-made billionaire. I do the math. What is his dollars per hour? It's incalculable. But he doesn't work any more hours than I do on an average week. So it's not how many hours you work, it's what you put into the hours. And it sounds so trite, but it's incredibly true.
96% of the people who watch this video, just like you, are not subscribed to the channel. Can you please do me a huge favor and subscribe to the channel? It'll take you 1 second. It helps me grow the channel, and you'll get access to more videos just like this one. Make sure to subscribe, and now let's get back to the content.
So, not to say that sometimes we don't work long hours and weekends. We do. Like, before a big conference, before, like, we're facing a deadline with the manuscript, you're going to see me up here on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm going to apologize to the kids, and I'm going to use the language of the book. I'm going to counterbalance afterwards. I'm going to take a day off, maybe yank my kids out of school and try to not lose all of that time because I gave it to work. And there's a time in my youth, right, when I did have more energy where I'm trying to get ahead. I'm trying to do better. And those are sometimes appropriate times to work longer hours. I think last year, it was a differentiator moment where some businesses adapted and they had to work really hard to adjust to COVID. And they not only survived, some of them stole a lot of market share. So I think there's also moments in time, but as a lifestyle, it's not supportable. As a lifestyle, I've seen it be a recipe for divorce and disease.
Yeah.
And I do not want the people I love to be caught into the culture of hustle first, think second. So I think business is a thinking person's game. And when we are strategic in our investment of time, we win.
Yeah, no, I love that. So Gary gets a full night of sleep. He doesn't work 18, 19, 20 hours a day and constantly
He'll
drinking
tell you,
coffee.
this is funny. It's true. He was cursed and blessed to come from a family of very low energy people. So you look at the idea of the classic entrepreneur hopped up on, Red Bull and their knees bouncing in every meeting. Gary does have high intellectual energy, but he doesn't have high physical energy. And so he was taught brutally early on that if he used hours as his mechanism for getting ahead, his body would break on him. And so it's in stark contrast to our vice chairman of the board, Mo Anderson, who was our CEO for when I first joined the company 20 years ago. She's an amazing businesswoman, and she was kind of known for being able to go to bed at 11, wake up at 2 a.m., and
Wow.
operate on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And we all have heard of those entrepreneurs, but she's an outlier.
Yeah.
She's a complete outlier. And by the way, she's like, I'm 80 something now and still going strong, right? And amazing. She's just one of those people that was gifted with this untappable well of energy, but that's rare. You can't model that. You might have been lucky to have gotten it, but frankly, I'd rather put in my hours at work and go home and have that energy with my family.
Yeah.
Or with my fly fishing habit or walking my dog. Like, I want to have my life have all of the facets of it. I don't want to say well-rounded because we are the one thing. We're not going to be trying to be jack of all trades. But there are things besides work that matter a lot to me. And I want to have the time and energy to invest in those too.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so not a fan of the whole hustle culture mentality. So for people who are maybe not familiar with the book or who haven't read it, what is the gist of the idea? I mean, the title kind of says it, the one thing. So what is the main message that you want people to take away from, whether it's from the book or this conversation about the one thing?
Sure. The heart of the book is the focusing question. And if you look at the back of the book, doesn't have any testimonials. There's no marketing copy. It's just a giant question mark. And we were very clear going in and coming out that the one behavior we wanted to adjust is we wanted readers to build a habit of asking that question. And it's a lot. It's a lot of words, and you can put it in the podcast notes for people so they don't have to pull over or try to write while they're driving or jogging. But it's, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary. And it's a very specific verbiage that gets you to a very powerful place. You're looking for the activity that will get you the most gain towards your goals of all of the things that you could do. And over time, in my mind, it's like, well, what's my one thing today? What's my one thing with my child? What's my one thing for my marriage? You can apply it in a lot of different areas and time frames. But that's at the core of it. You're looking for your number one priority. Your
Okay.
number one priority to achieve your goal. And the biggest mistake people make is they hear only one thing. We never said that. Who gets to do one thing? Nobody, right? We have kids, we have aging parents, we have hobbies, we have jobs. Our jobs have all kinds of busy work that is absolutely necessary and can't be ignored. But if we start and give disproportionate focus and energy to the true priority, everything else does get easier, and sometimes it just goes away. You don't even have to do it. That's the big idea. Does that make sense when I say it that way?
No, it does completely. And I was going to ask a follow-up question, which is like how to actually go through. So let's say, for example, today I'm a entry level or maybe mid-level employee at a company, and I want to start thinking about that one thing, and I really want to grow in my career, right? I want to become a more senior level leader, someone like yourself. So I would basically wake up and I would say, what is the one thing that I can do today to help me get closer to my goal? So do you ask this on a daily basis? Do you ask it about personal things and business? Like, how many times can you ask this question? About how many topics? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to put some context around it so that people can actually practice this
Sure,
themselves.
sure. I try to say you should do this around the important things, right? Not about what Netflix show you're going to stream tonight, right? That is, it is an effective way to get really quickly to the truth. When we wrote the book, we were working on this book for almost 5 years, Jacob. And
Wow.
I can remember I was truly afraid that when it came out that people wouldn't know their answer. They would ask the question and go, well, shoot, I don't know the answer. And in my experience now, teaching tens of thousands of people the principles, maybe 5% don't know the answer. A much more common reality is that people do know the answer. They've been too busy to give it any focus or attention, and they actually have some guilt around it. So it's that mirror they don't like to look at sometimes because they realize they've actually been neglecting it. They've been letting the things that scream loudest, which are not often your real priorities. It's your email inbox or the
Yep.
pull of Twitter and social media and distraction to take them away from the thing that they know is a higher priority. So let's go back to your example. I'm a young person. Maybe I'm in my first major job and I'm trying to ask, how do I figure out what my one thing is and in what context? I like to go out big. The mistake a lot of people make is they try to have a great year, and in doing so, they might short circuit their career because they're aiming at something that definitely will get them ahead right now, but
Yeah.
it isn't something that strategically will get them ahead in the future. So when you're young and starting, I think you're trying to figure out what your gifts are. The reason ultimately people get accelerated through the business world is that in some area, they can provide disproportionate returns on their investment of time, right? They can sell more than the next person. They can close more than the next person. They can write better copy or better code than the next person. So part of the young person's journey is discovering where their passion and their gifts align And so there is a little bit of experimentation when you're young that's kind of necessary, unless you got that road to Damascus moment. And it's a very rare thing where you just like, oh, since I've been 8, I wanted to be a surgeon. That's just so uncommon. Most of us have to go through the hard work of a little trial and error. And then we suddenly go, that idea of getting into flow, like they find something that they actually enjoy. And because they enjoy it, they do it more. And because they do it more, they get better at it. And then it becomes a very positive cycle. And so I would ask, like, if it was my son, I'd say, ask the question, how can you become invaluable? Like, how do you do something so well that executives have EAs? They pay someone full time to take all of the little stuff off of someone's plate so they can do that thing. So your first goal would be, where can I bring disproportionate value? I believe everybody has a gift, and they can show up and provide extra value because they're either more passionate about it or have more skills. And the lovely combination is when you have both passion and skill. But passion trumps. Like I really, this aligns with my values, where I want to go, and I'm going to lean into it, because so much of mastery is not fun. It's boring. You show up every day and you practice, and you get better and you get better. That's why that purpose, passion shows up. So that's where I would start. You ask the question on kind of a high level, what are the things that I really enjoy doing? Every job has unpleasant activities.
Yeah.
But there's things that maybe you kind of don't dislike, and you might discover that you're actually good at. Those are the things that you lean into. The second advice I would give them is you report to someone in the beginning, right? Unless you're an entrepreneur. Do you know how your job ties to your boss's success and to the success of the company? And so it's kind of lining up those dominoes, right? If you can understand how your job contributes up the scale of success, then you can start making a bigger argument for how you're contributing at a high level. And the sad truth of a lot of people's jobs is they show up and they make widgets, and they don't really understand how they're connected to the larger machine. And frankly, just take a little bit of humble pie and say, Jacob, hey, I've been working with you for 6 months. How does what we do make the company more successful? I've never stopped to ask the question, how do we connect to the bigger picture so I can know if I have to make a choice where I should focus? That actually, it's a great dumb question. It makes you look smart, even though it's a dumb question.